also have you to be part of our conversations this morning. My name is Mollen, Kenyena. I do have the two gentlemen with me here in studio, and of course we're here to take you through Wednesday. Quite midweek. When you look at Wednesday, usually it tends to tone things down. At least that is the hope. But we will be giving you more on what is happening right here at home, and as well what is happening beyond borders. We do have topical discussions. We get you onto the roads and give you more of the traffic updates, the weather as well, and obviously we do have Good Morning Uganda agenda that is in there somewhere to give you more perspective, more conversations, and of course we do know that you will be part of that. Well, a lot is happening across the country, and personally I picked up on a story that is about MPs looking into the request from KCCA about the infrastructure development in Kampala. And they're saying this is a lot, this is too much money. This can be actually put on real infrastructure in Kampala other than doing facelifts off for certain areas, and this is quite a concern. But you also look at how KCCA constantly demands for more money. Now the question here, the money in question here is 2.2 trillion shillings that they also asked actually in terms of a loan request. They also did have the parliamentary committee, the committee that was put on national economy. They were opposing the idea of giving them 12 billion Ugandan shillings. Now, I don't know. For me, I'm concerned that KCCA keeps asking for this money, but we don't even see the work. I don't know whether it's just me or other Ugandans are also not seeing the work. Is this money justifiable? That's the big question. Robert, did you pick up on anything that is getting you concerned as a Ugandan? Good morning.
A lovely morning to you. I must say I love your combination, purple and black.
Thank you.
As a person deeply interested in fashion, though not good at fashion, but at least interested in fashion and color blending, you've gotten it, girl.
Oh, thank you.
I say you look
thank
so
you
lovely
so
this
much.
morning. Good morning, our viewers. How was your night? Welcome to Good Morning Uganda this lovely Wednesday morning. Well, we are trying to a bit of, put the past, move with the future. Yesterday is gone and today is new. Now, coming back to the story of KCCA, I must say I was a bit disappointed when it came to the 12 billion being asked for staff training. And MPs were questioning 12 billion staff training, and I saw the leaders there at KCCA finding it hard to explain. Remember, this is the same authority that was before Parliament, and there was an issue of about, is it 60 billion or 600 billion? I stand to be corrected with a figure that was for HIV/AIDS prevention regarding people that are going to be working along the Port Bell Road. They said when some of this money is going to buy condoms, you're looking at a good amount of money, and you're telling us some of this money is going to buy condoms, others is going to sensitize people who are coming to work. There are new people in the area, so we need to sensitize them about HIV/AIDS. I don't know who did that when I joined UBC because we were new people and we needed also, I don't know how much our corporation puts on buying condoms. And so I think sometimes the budget of KCCA may not look at priorities. I think these are people who are used that money is there and we may spend it because priority is what drives life.
Yeah, and they seem to be hoping from one thing to the other that is not justifiable.
And whenever you have a budget, your budget should look at the most important at such a time. Globally, the world is almost in a credit crunch. Now, if you're going to get a loan, look at the most important things that will go to service delivery. But unfortunately, sometimes, I must say, or lack of proper explanation, it seems KCCA budgets need proper scrutiny. Otherwise, the people that come up with them are like, now we are going to get a loan, money is coming. So how best do they look for fixing? When you have money or you're going to get money and they tell you, we have this amount of money, then you put even the unnecessary or less priority. But right from KCCA, I was also touched by the Deputy Speaker of Parliament yesterday, bring the issue of DNA at the floor of Parliament. Felix had talked about it. This is something that needs to be given more attention. And one of the things I liked is when they tasked the Ministry of Health to come up with certified, accredited DNA laboratories so that people get to know the list. The way Ugandans are crafty, anyone now may rush any laboratory even when they don't have the capacity. So they offer DNA tests. So Ministry of Health provide us with certified, accredited laboratories to carry out this. But also I enjoyed clips of various members of parliament, out of parliament. Many were saying we should put to silence this DNA thing. Men, just stop it. If these children are yours, just raise them. Many of the female MPs are saying, just raise them. Because at the end of the day, when they grow up knowing you're their father, they will look after you, they will love you as daddy. So don't go into this nonsense of DNA and bring problems. Just raise these wonderful kids. After all, they're innocent.
I don't even know how we got here.
Now it has changed.
I don't even know how we got here. Is it a matter of economy that people are failing to, be able to take care of these kids? Otherwise, why are people rushing to happening? But well,
this is gender.
It's a matter of wanting.
It is a matter of
Felix, good morning. And what is concerning you this morning?
Good morning. How are you, Mollen?
I am doing all right.
I equally love your blazer, I must say.
Oh, thank you so much.
It's quite beautiful and awesome. Very unique, I must say.
Thank you.
But relating to what Robert did talk about, I think also I must allude to the fact that most of our leaders take time to watch some of the things probably we say here, and that has been consistent in various assertions, starting with the president to the least of them. And we appreciate. We don't take it for granted, because normally when we have discussions here about national matters, most times they have been addressed in different forums. Many of them is what we discussed yesterday, and clearly where you saw the discussion in Parliament was swayed to exactly what we're saying here on Good Morning Uganda. So we do appreciate that in particular. But secondly also, you must take note of something quite interesting. Yesterday we saw, of course, the elections in, is it Oyam? Are also heated up. We saw the president there trying to traverse the area, and of course it was an opportunity for people there. Do you call upon people to vote the son of the deceased?
Of the late Charles.
Now, I don't know if that has become fashion. I don't know if that's still democracy. I don't know, but
it is democracy when people vote for him, because they can choose not to vote for that son.
It's a bit tricky anyway, but it is what it is. But also something to say about this whole DNA thing. Yesterday after the show, I took some time to think about this thing again. Do you know that there are some women also whose DNA doesn't match
the kids there?
Oh yes.
That's interesting.
No, it is very interesting. Sadly, there's a family I was told of that when the man went for DNA and he said, "This is not my child," the woman was so sure as snow falls that it can never fall in June. She said, "Also, let me go." And the man was no, like, woman, there are women who are really good.
Yeah.
Very
honestly,
honest and faithful.
And I know, but and the woman to go and check DNA, also the kid wasn't hers. Now, you know that we have theft of children in hospitals, and it's very common. You've heard, remember there's a time when it became a big deal and the cases were all over TVs and radios, even today. So I think as we discuss DNA, we need to discuss these facilities. We could be blaming women very quickly. That's why I told you the problem is bigger than what actually is manifesting before our eyes. People go to hospitals saying, "Me, I want a boy this time, at any cost." And these midwives and doctors still they switch.
They swap.
No, they do it. Honestly, you remember the cases that now, how does someone come pregnant? Yes, what's that?
And there are some women actually who have issues with childbearing. So the man travels, comes back, we got a baby.
And it's the same scenario.
Yes.
There is
People
also
who have
another
really-
medical scenario, I'm told. It's a unique medical scenario where a woman can give birth to a child, but the DNA doesn't match.
It's very possible
They say it
biologically.
happens at
Yes.
the birth of the mother. It's like they were intended to be twins, but the child comes out alone.
It's very
so
possible.
they get the DNA of the person who would have been a twin. So when they give birth, their children take on
Don't
the
get,
other
yeah.
DNA. Yeah.
Yes.
So
It's very
usually
possible.
You need
these
an
are
expert
possibilities.
here.
No, honestly,
Yeah,
and
it's a medical
you see,
case.
That's why we needed to discuss. And I told you because it is. You see, scientific things are not like. Yeah, you don't just approach them directly. Of course, not diluting the fact that there are also there are some mistakes that could have happened.
Yeah.
So we also need to keep keen interest relating to the fact that some hospitals are part of this dicta blunderous.
Which is why we need credited ones.
Yeah. So as we talk about DNA now, you must also discuss maternal places or where those services are offered.
Yeah.
So we must equally think of that. Lastly, today being Wednesday, you know, you women want to make us think it's your day.
Woman Crush Wednesday. That's a very important one.
How?
Yeah, it's a day you get to crush on women and appreciate them. I mean, there's a reason why we call it Woman Crush Wednesday. And Felix over time has failed to see that reason. But
No,
my brother, let me tell you.
I really have no problem. I'm not going to be caught fighting for days. I don't know.
We are not fighting, it's already there.
Okay. So, Robert, your question on someone today?
I want to crush on Honorable Media Chambade.
Hi.
Well, recently there was, I think, a Eid party at either
Nyonyintono.
not Nyonyintono, at someone's residence, who is also a media guru in one way, and she enjoyed life. Some unique dance strokes there. Said, you know,
Really?
yes, learn to enjoy life. Life
And
is
she was
short.
telling who doesn't
Enjoy.
know to.
People who were there, and she made a lot of us statements regarding life. But one of the things why I choose to crush on her is, during her time, I was speaking to some people of her, in her constituency. Of course, she was defeated by the current MP they have now, coming up with and saying, we had these programs, now we don't even know why we made this choice.
Anyway.
So they were regretting, and I'm like, but you people, you had two categories of individuals.
Do that.
But Felix,
And
who are you crushing on
It
this
was a
morning?
wave.
One thing I know about Honorable Media Chambade, she's a very beautiful woman, if I'm allowed
Yeah.
to say that. And clearly, if she's beautiful now, you can imagine
How she was way
years
back.
ago.
Yeah.
You know, she's a very
I love the facts that
So I take it you're also crushing on her this
I'm
morning?
just doing an addendum towards,
okay.
I will
Okay.
succumb to only that fact, not the latter one. Of the constituency, yeah, they're crying. That's the, let them cry. So, myself, I think I will crush on the ladies in the judiciary.
Perfect.
I was before a judge yesterday, and she's a lady who I won't mention her name, but for some reason I was excited. I was happy.
But you always.
Honestly,
Yeah,
I love people who are extraordinary.
How extraordinary was she then?
Here's the thing, Robert. In everything around black man culture, a woman to rise in all levels to be a good lawyer, on good road, and at the level of the Constitutional Court, I think it is hard feeling. It is hard feeling. It is good for the Mollens here who are in career people, the young girls. I think it is satisfying.
But what was so outstanding? That is what I want to know.
No.
Because there are so many, the number of judges, magistrates who've risen. So this particular
She
one,
was smart.
well, either looks.
She was smart.
Okay.
Yeah.
It takes you to be smart to be a judge in the Constitutional Court. It's not for every
Every lawyer.
tail shaker. It's not for every tail shaker. You know, it's not for the bobby tails. It's solid. So when you appear before someone with composure, good English, good intonation, calmness, soberness, you don't get that, by the way, from every day, even from judges are solid as this. I'm sorry to say. Adjustment after so it was a good one, and so for me I want to crush on women in the
Mollen.
judiciary, judges in particular, magistrates in particular. The sky is the limit.
Yeah, sure.
Briefly, just one thing also, so much is happening. Our traders that take goods to Juba packed. They have gone on strike.
And I think it's over now a week.
Again.
Because they are saying the 74 trucks that were impounded because the Sudanese Bureau of Standards declared the goods to have aflatoxins. It's now a month and these trucks are not returning home.
And this has been a continuous
being released.
issue. I remember them even reaching out
Who's
to the
holding
government
them?
of Uganda
The
saying,
Sudanese
look,
government.
we need help
Why are
here.
they holding them?
Because of the aflatoxins
If
that
they
are found in
had
the
Are they
product.
under arrest?
ban the maize, then release the trucks back to Uganda.
Are they under arrest?
But now you're having
No, they are
the
not
trucks
allowed
there
to cross over and take
to
the
return.
products. Yeah.
Because, and this has been, I think it's coming to the second week now.
It's
Because
a month.
oh,
It's a month now.
really?
Yes. And the traders first, yes, I had issued a 4 days ultimatum.
Who's the
They
Minister
did-
of Trade and whatever, what?
Not a-
But there is
Doesn't
need
it fall
to
under
address
Minister of
this
Finance or something?
I
issue.
think it should be under trade.
It
It's not-
is under
it's because this is trade, it's yes, Ministry of Trade.
We do hope that this is
And the
addressed
Minister of
because we know that
Agriculture.
continuously, this is not the
And
first
Foreign
time
Affairs.
actually
No,
that we are
South
seeing
Sudan is
our
being stubborn.
traders being stuck on borders because of the same issue.
Robert, don't get it twisted. Sorry, Mollen. It's not South Sudan. That is not South Sudan's problem.
No, what I'm saying, first wait, Felix, let me
South Sudan is
drive my
becoming
point.
stubborn.
I'm looking at a number of, you see, traders take goods to Rwanda, take goods to Kenya, take goods to Congo. But if you look at our history of trade with South Sudan, ask any Kasita member.
So
We've
the
had-
problem
this
now
not
is
the first
Sudan, not
time-
you as the
This is not the
aflatoxin.
first time that, leave alone this time, it's aflatoxins in the maize. But there have been a
let's
number
look
of
at this
issues.
case, Robert.
And
Why
some
are you
of the
bringing
issues
the
they
other
have brought up,
issues?
I think
these drivers
Robert,
still have to
what
pay
Felix
visas.
is trying to
They
put
still
across
so-
is we need a standard.
And-
As long as ours do not match theirs, they have the right to say no.
Actually,
We do not
one of
want
the
this
documents
product.
I had, I think, on the news here, that the document that even made this maize to be impounded, the flour, was a Ugandan document
Sure.
that said this maize was not to the. It was a Ugandan, not South Sudanese. Actually, that's what the traders. Because what one of them was hosted on the show and was talking, and that's what he said. The leaders of the traders or something. Robert, the problem is not Sudan. Let's not be unnecessarily patriotic. The problem, we have a problem, let's be sure. If they're holding Ugandan goods in Sudan for now, you said it's coming to a month, and we don't see anyone thumping their chests. Really, is that a Sudan problem?
Release the trucks.
We have to match it up. We
Confiscate
have to get to the
destroy
level they want.
the
It's a
maize
procedure,
and
Robert.
let's have them back. But someone says on the 26th those trucks were released. Where are they? They're not yet in Uganda.
You're just being
Me,
unnecessary.
I'm looking at a
Obviously-
chain of events, not just this one. a chain
Obviously,
of events.
this conversation really does have, you know, a little bit of angles because while we want our services or our goods to go out there, we also have to make sure that we are aligning with what the people that we're selling the goods to want. So as long as we can't provide that, they have the right to say, no, we do not want this. It's not our first rodeo. We did see that with Kenya. They said, no, we do not want, was it milk, I think, and maize as well. So it's quite in there. and we
Honestly,
hope
yeah,
this is
that
addressed,
should be
really.
triggering something for the Ministry of Agriculture, Trade and Finance. But this, Robert, if you can see it, if I can see it, they have technocrats.
Yeah.
Because all the time, Rwanda, Kenya, everywhere they're refusing. That should trigger something. That what do we do?
Well,
So,
absolutely.
the problem is not these countries. I think the problem is with some of these your people you're trying to defend.
A lot of things as well happening in terms of top stories locally and internationally. Robert and Felix will be taking us through the local stories. What do we have, Robert?
Well, let's begin with the by-election that is soon setting up, where we saw His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni and the chairman of the National Resistance Movement in Oyam North to gather votes for the NRM candidate. Now President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni urged the people of Oyam North to vote the NRM candidate Ngola Okello Jr., saying he bears the vision of hard work from the late father Ngola. He campaigned in the sub-counties of Echume and Otwala, preaching to the people the achievements of NRM in the energy sector, road infrastructure, education, and health sector in the country.
Now, government is to increase the number of high court judges from 83 to at least 151 in the move to ease access to justice in the country. Now, Parliament has agreed with the government after adopting a motion moved by Norbert Mao. The Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. Parliament has also criticized the recent spark of DNA testing tasking government to guide the nation accordingly. Deputy Speaker, Parliament Thomas Tayewa says the situation has been mishandled and innocent children are falling victims.
And we now go to Uganda Kingdom, where the Katikkiro of Buganda, Charles Peter Mayiga, advised the public to embrace coffee growing to enable them improve their income. Katikkiro said this at a coffee trader's visit that paid him a courtesy at Bulange Mengo in a campaign codenamed Oluwalo Rafe, where people bring support to build the kingdom. He also recommended parents to help their children have skills of farming to enable them survive even in their absence. Over 20 million shillings has been contributed from coffee traders, and the 18th Bureau Group has started for forward maintenance on the drainage channel and elimination of potholes to improve traffic flow. Channel Area 18th Bureau Group Social Development Officer Lumisa George advised motorists to respect traffic guidelines. Kampala Capital City Authority contracted Channel Area 18th Bureau Group to do civil works on roads in industrial area Kabalagala, Suna 1 and 2.
Well, and as we cross over onto the international scene, the Taliban have ordered hair and beauty salons in Afghanistan to shut down in the latest restriction faced by women. A vice and virtual ministry or spokesperson told BBC that businesses had 1 month to comply starting from the 2nd of July, when they were first informed of the move. Now, women's freedoms have steadily shrunk since the Taliban seized power in 2021, and they have barred teenage girls and women from classrooms, gyms, parks, and most recently even banned them from working for the United Nations. The Taliban have also decreed that women should be dressed in a way that only reveals their eyes and must be accompanied by a male relative if they are traveling more than 72 kilometers. Now, in another story, 12 Palestinians and an Israel soldier have been killed during the assault on Jenin refugee camp launched early Monday under Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's hard-right government. The raid, Israel's biggest military operation in years in the West Bank, employed hundreds of troops as well as drone strikes and army bulldozers that ripped up streets. Elsewhere, a car ramming and stabbing attack in Tel Aviv on Tuesday wounded 7 people before the suspect was shot dead. The large-scale Israel army assault on Jenin camp had so far killed 12 Palestinians, and the Palestinian Health Ministry affirmed this. Now, South Africa's Zulu King, Misazulu Kwazelinthi, has moved to reassure his people and dismiss stories that he had been poisoned. "I'm not poisoned, I'm well," he said in a video released on Monday evening. At the weekend, the king's traditional prime minister said he had gone to the neighboring Eswatini for treatment. Chief Mongosuthu Buthelezi added that it followed the sudden death of one of King's senior advisors, also of suspected poisoning, but in response, the King's spokesperson, Prince Africa Zulu, alleged that there was an orchestrated agenda and a desperate narrative to communicate defamatory and baseless claims of His Majesty's ill health. And in climate news, the world's average temperature reached a new high on Monday, 3rd July, topping 17 degrees Celsius for the first time. U.S. researchers say the new record was the highest in any instrumental record dating back to the end of the 19th century. Now, scientists believed in a combination of natural weather event known as El Niño and mankind's ongoing emissions of carbon dioxide are driving the heat. Well, last month has also been confirmed as the world's warmest June yet recorded. Scientists at the U.S. National Centers for Environmental Prediction say the world's average temperatures has reached 19.01 degrees Celsius on 3rd July, breaking the previous record of 16.92 degrees Celsius that had stood since August 2016. Well, quite interesting right there. We see a lot of the records are coming in. Actually, most countries are still reporting June to have been the highest. Someone was wondering, how come for us we are having rains here even when people are saying it's hot and it's breaking records? You know, the universe doesn't work like that. Another area is having rains, another one is having a very dry day, but generally they look at the atmospheric temperatures generally within the sphere, and that is what they're basing on to actually look at most of this. But while a lot is happening across the world, we also want to look at the dailies. Felix, what do we have in the Daily Monitor today?
Well, in the papers, the big headline, government moves to regulate DNA paternity testing. That's quite a good one. Now, OYAM goes to polls and they give you the particular people to look out for in this election. And still, Uganda drivers protest over colleagues held in South Sudan. And clay bricks or concrete blocks, which is better now, also pilot government lawyers eat big in new pay structure. And 5 policemen arrested over Bukedia by-election.
That and much more, obviously, you will be catching the dailies. We'll give you more of that as well as we get to our programming today. But we will be taking a short break. When we get back, we do have a topical discussion in our newsreel. Good morning. Well, good morning, Uganda. Thank you so much for starting today with us, and we are glad that you're here so that we get to share what we have with you, but also have you to be part of our conversations this morning. My name is Mollen, Kenyena, and we have the 2 gentlemen with me here in studio, and of course we're here to take you through Wednesday. Quite midweek. When you look at Wednesday, usually it tends to tone things down. At least that is the hope. But we will be giving you more on what is happening right here at home, and as well what is happening beyond borders. We do have topical discussions. We get you onto the roads and give you more of the traffic updates, the weather as well. And obviously we do have Good Morning Uganda agenda that is in there somewhere to give you more perspective, more conversations, and of course we do know that you will be part of that. Well, a lot is happening across the country, and personally I picked up on a story that is about looking into the request from KCCA about the infrastructure development in Kampala, and they're saying this is a lot, this is too much money. This can be actually put on real infrastructure in Kampala other than doing facelifts off for certain areas, and this is quite a concern. But you also look at how KCCA constantly demands for more money. Now the question here, the money in question here is 2.2 trillion shillings that they also asked actually in terms of a loan request. They also did have the parliamentary committee, the committee that was put on national economy, they were opposing the idea of giving them 12 billion Ugandan shillings. Now, I don't know. For me, I'm concerned that KCCA keeps asking for this money, but we don't even see the work. I don't know whether it's just me or other Ugandans are also not seeing the work. Is this money justifiable? That's the big question. Robert, did you pick up on anything that is getting you concerned as a Ugandan? Good morning.
A lovely morning to you. I must say I love your combination, purple and black.
Thank you.
As a person deeply interested in fashion, though not good at fashion, but at least interested in fashion and color blending, you've gotten it, girl.
Oh, thank you.
I say you look
Thank
so
you
lovely
so
this
much.
morning. Good morning, our viewers. How was your night? Welcome to Good Morning Uganda this lovely Wednesday morning. Well, we are trying to a bit of, put the past, move with the future. Yesterday is gone and today is new. Now, coming back to the story of KCCA, I must say I was a bit disappointed when it came to the 12 billion being asked for staff training. And MPs were questioning 12 billion staff training, and I saw the leaders there at KCCA finding it hard to explain. Remember, this is the same authority that was before Parliament, and there was an issue of about, is it 60 billion or 600 billion? I stand to be corrected with a figure that was for HIV/AIDS prevention regarding people that are going to be working along the Port Bell Road. They said when some of this money is going to buy condoms, you're looking at a good amount of money, and you're telling us some of this money is going to buy condoms, others is going to sensitize people who are coming to work. There are new people in the area, so we need to sensitize them about HIV/AIDS. I don't know who did that when I joined UBC because we were new people and we needed also, I don't know how much our corporation puts on buying condoms. And so I think sometimes the budget of KCCA may not look at priorities. I think these are people who are used that money is there and we may spend it because priority.
From UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
This is the University of Africa. On the streets, you get your real education. Here, everybody has a degree of something. But the most important qualification is imagination. His reason is to be the GOAT. The reason to imagine is to take the beat and make it lit. So no matter what your situation, just use your imagination.
Juko.
Yo.
Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
And in talking news, MTN has improved on their data voice bundles. You can now call across all networks for the same price. We've talked to several eyewitnesses on the ground, and this is what one of them had to say. Amos, did you hear about the MTN daily voice bundles? So, to join many more other Ugandans enjoying these MTN daily voice bundles, dial *100 *21# or use the My MTN app to start enjoying. Stay tuned for more offers from MTN.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, good morning, Uganda. Many thanks again for joining us. And right now we'll be looking into our newsreel. And we're having more conversations, especially about the ongoing issue about our traders that are now stuck at the South Sudanese border in search of help, especially for the vehicles that have been impounded. What we do know also that Ugandan traders who usually export their merchandise to South Sudan have imposed a strike on the Juba government after they failed to release the impounded trucks. That is totaling to 74 trucks now. And of course, they are alleging that this maize flour that the trucks were carrying does have aflatoxins, and they are saying we cannot have this in the country, which is why traders did also launch their strike, saying that now we cannot allow any goods to flow and come into South Sudan until you, one of the things they talked about was the unconditional release of the trucks and cargo in them, and of course until the South Sudanese authorities are able to work with that or are able to grant that, the traders are saying no, we are staying here and we're going to strike until that is done. But also, you listen to both sides. The South Sudanese authorities are saying, for us, this is what we want. We have given them our standards. We don't want maize that has this kind of level of aflatoxins. And the Ugandan authorities are saying, no, these were tested. These are supposed to be okay to go out. Now, we know that this is not the first time that we are running into similar issues, especially with our maize flour, but also you look at other products that we usually export outside of Uganda. And we're a country that prides itself in regional trade. We want to make sure that we have those relations and we are not constantly dealing with issues that are aligned to this. But we also know that it hasn't been easy. We constantly get to this very problem, which is why we want to understand where the issue really is. Is it on the side of our traders? Is it right from the beginning, right from the agricultural produce that we have to get to the extent of producing the flour? Where are we getting it wrong? Why are we getting into issues where countries have had to deal with this similar issue on the levels of aflatoxins, especially for the products that we export? And I'll bring in Robert here. Right from when you see the planting part of it, to the storage, to everything, how are we getting to the levels where we cannot streamline and say this is a standard?
First, I must say we enter community, and one of the biggest things that His Excellency talked about, he said, look at this population, the East African population as one. Look at the opportunities of market that our goods would be having as Ugandans. Because if we can have free movement of goods and services, people as well, then we have more market. Because we may have so much production, but we may not be able to consume. Now, whether this is about aflatoxins or something else is something we can discuss later. Because I've seen many times when our goods are rejected and we do not solve issues with the science, we solve them with the dialogue. You get it? That at one time your milk is being rejected, your eggs are being rejected, but after some talks, they can access that country. Now, Mollen, was that resolved scientifically? Here you are, the Uganda National Bureau of Standards, executive director comes and says, these trucks were checked thoroughly and credited to pass. The Sudanese Bureau of Standards says, for us we found a high level of aflatoxins. Now, any cereal, any crop will have aflatoxins because these, right from mostly how they get them is post-harvest. Now, how do you harvest this maize? Where you put it to what causes very much aflatoxins is how have you stored? Because grain maize can be contaminated if it where you keep it. But aflatoxins also come so much when you harvest maize that is not yet ready, or any cereal that is not yet ready, and still has high volumes of water in it. Now, we know our farmers, sometimes they don't have sufficient knowledge. Sometimes they may not have what it takes. For example, a person may have 5 hectares of maize. These people, today, are jali tabanozi. Tomorrow, then they will leave that maize even in the garden until they bring a truck tomorrow and they load it. And they load on this truck, then take somewhere. So, no doubt, post-harvest is a challenge to Ugandan farmers. They don't have Matundu Valley, they don't have... Look at how coffee farmers, through the Uganda Coffee Development Authority, how it brought in, how it took it very serious upon themselves to see that, no, if you're dealing in coffee, you must have proper handling, post-harvest handling. You must get the right beans of coffee. They look at dry coffee. Don't pick beans that, so that they were fighting all these. We don't have a regulatory body, if it is there, not so much either funded to look at people dealing in grains. So when this maize is contaminated either at storage or it has been picked from the garden before it's dry enough, chances of aflatoxins are there. But there are levels that much as there are aflatoxins, this particular we can do without, but this is so unbearable. Now, for this case, the question is, do we have standards? That is one. That if Uganda says, maybe if we find 20% aflatoxins, this we can keep, and that is a standard within East African community. That all of us as East African community, if we find the volume of aflatoxins or whatever measurement they use to be 20% maybe of this particular volume, then we say, no, go back. Or do we have each country having its own standards? Because that would then explain, if you have a universal standard, did this maize meet the minimum requirement? If it did under the universal standards, then is our lab having a problem? Or is their lab having a problem? Or could there be something else other than what we are seeing at play? You know?
But you can expand on that.
So
what is the something else that we can look at?
Because if we are in this community, East African community, if we have a universal standard, that maybe if there are 20% of aflatoxin, that is a minimum we can allow. But if they go above 20, I'm just trying to figure out something, then that we can't allow. But if we have that, and Uganda comes out with the ED of such bodies, say, no, for us we verified that was right. These trucks, the 74 you're holding, the content they had, the produce they had, passed the minimum. Now, if it is a general scale, how come at your side? Because you fail to agree. These are labs, these are experts, these are bodies. Ours is saying no, these trucks were okay. Yours is saying no, they had high volumes. So how do we handle that? Could it be something else, away from just saying it is produce that has a problem?
Something else like what, Robert?
When we look at countries, you know, one of the things we've not taken, we think that when we opened up this East African community, there isn't stiff competition. They'll tell you, you're free to move goods and services. We are under the East African community. One, if you listen to this story and if you've been watching, they'll tell you, but when you get to South Sudan, you're still paying a visa. It's a member of the East African community. Other countries, Uganda, you don't pay when your goods will not pay. You pay $70 unreceipted for all these. So the spirit of assuming We once had Ugandans who were doing border business in South Sudan. They were given an ultimatum, and you remember when you saw so many borders return home with Sudanese number plates. And it wasn't even easy for them. It was more like Mugenge. We may think, but over time, these people could also have maybe built capacity in grain. You get it? And now they want to protect their industries. When you look at our dairy products, Kenya, he didn't say that our milk was bad. But to some extent, maybe they believe you're bringing and flooding the market, and there's competition. So for us, we just went and assumed that because you're in the East African community, tujatundanga bwetwagala. But forgetting that maybe these people may also reach a point when what we are sending to them, either they have built capacity or they have gotten a better partner to offer them to do better business with them. So it may not generally be that this is about laboratory, this is about toxins. We need to think and look broader than just what we are viewing and saying they have this. Because Felix will call me extra patriotic or what, but I still don't understand. No,
it's a good thing.
Well, I don't still understand that our Uganda National Bureau of Standards can certify something. Uganda and South Sudan, and then South Sudan, given the challenges, the endeavors, and then you come and say you had wrong results, you have right results.
But it also gives us a momentum on how to standardize, because we're looking at this whole thing between authorities, but at the same time, you have traders that are being affected in this whole thing. And we did have a statement from authorities here and the South Sudanese government. What we are trying to understand is how far does this go, especially in terms of looking at the way we are handling issues. We shouldn't be getting to a level where traders have to, have a strike about this. This should have been solved amicably between the two countries. And Felix, I want to bring you in here. We're looking at this whole creating a scenario according to our standards. So how do we find a balance here?
Well, for us, I think it's a very bad scenario. I think it would be prudent for us to even start with that. The fact that people wake up to win bread with this country where unemployment is a normative, and people try to look for work, because you can imagine the effect of such that goes down to the farmer. How do we move forward about this? I think we need to put our house in order. I doubt it is the first time we are trading with South Sudan. Secondly, I know for a fact that we trade with other different countries. However, taking note of that fact, it is also key for us to understand that the problem is known. And the more time we take trying to act like we don't know what the problem is, actually, aflatoxins are very dangerous, as a matter of fact. We talk about them like one of the biggest causes of cancer in third world countries is basically through consumables. The things that kill us are the things we take in. We may look at the financial aspect today, but probably we must also look at, because maybe there's actually a problem, because this is consistent. How about we also think about it? If Kenya said it, Rwanda said it, South Sudan, Robert is trying to demise the Bureau of South Sudan, but it has said it, and they're sticking by their word. Maybe we should think about the quality of what we are training. I think also it is not wrong for us to learn the evil, the bitter, bad face that comes with not doing things right. Some of these are results of corruption, shortcuts, and all these things. Substandard work in this country has become normal. who checks the quality of food that we eat? It's okay to let's first leave Sudan and come now to Uganda.
If it is meat, we have the vets that go to abattoirs
Where?
certified.
Where?
The meat go to meat packers.
Where?
You find a
Robert.
stamp of this meat.
Jesus is Lord. Are you sure they do that?
Yes, at least when I go to
How often?
city, I'm almost there every day. Every day, because I go to pick for my animals.
Okay, yeah,
and I
whatever
find
you go
that
there
thing
to do.
stamped. And there is a vet who comes.
You
or
see the
whatever.
vet? Have you seen the vet yourself?
Have I? Have never.
That's the thing.
But I see
So the
stamps
issue of the
on-
stamp doesn't qualify the fact that it's a vet who put it there.
Things that you haven't actually
You get the,
proved
you
for
see,
sure.
we are mediocres and we want to export this mediocrity. That's why I was telling you earlier that this sensation of trying to be a part, this is a problem. But Ugandans, every day we are coping with diseases and we don't know, but these are some of the causes.
And the other tricky, just to point of information, however supporting what you're saying, is we took over 100 trucks in South Sudan. The rest passed.
The 74 are
Who were-
are the ones which are held.
These particular
But no one
ones,
is talking about those ones that
but
were.
others went through. And they were okay with them.
Let's be serious.
Matching the standard they wanted.
That's what
Let's,
yes.
guys, let's be serious. Let's not look at this as a Sudan problem. It's a Ugandan problem.
Then why
Who
have-
checks the foods? And in the markets, go to the markets.
you still find expired products on shelves?
On shelves and on big
Overcanned.
supermarkets. You know what they do? And not what, let me tell you, there's a case I know of a senior, one of the most senior people in this country. He lost a son who took expired medicine bought from a clinic. Expired medicine. A pharmacist prescribes, if there's a prescription and you give someone. Let's be serious. The problem is bigger than what you talk in this. The authorities, institutions are sleeping. Standards, Robert, you're here uploading it. Every time we host them here, there's one thing they always say. That's my low staffing. They call it,
Low staffing,
whatever, low staff.
low human resource.
That's their song. They have a rhythm and a chorus. Human resource, low staffing.
We can't be everywhere.
Then they talk about, first, what is this? Allocation. Low allocation, low staffing. Is what? Babira. But these people are saying that. Have you looked at the quality of building materials on the market?
Oh, Jesus.
Iron bars,
even
like
farm
sausage.
inputs.
Sausage.
Recently,
You can buy it on Tayimbwa. You know iron bars. Arguing about Sudan saying,
go to
the
farm
problem is
inputs.
bigger.
Recently,
Yes.
I almost chased everybody at the farm. In 1 month, Jambia.
But-
But we used to have these things for years at home.
We are dealing with a bigger problem, my colleagues.
It speaks to the quality that we have. But
So
also what
you
does
want,
that
for you
mean
want to
for
export
us
your
here?
mediocrity. These people who are serious can't. The Kenyans will not take the mediocrity. For you want to hide under the guises of East African community. No. The existence of the community does not extinguish the need for quality. Ugandans, as I've told you, we are general people. We are mediocres. We have easy way out. As I've told you, you tell me you can't get an 6-inch nail. You will turn it with your hands, but it's on the market. These buildings that fall every day. Sometimes people say, but sometimes engineers, the iron, all these things are the same problem as what we are seeing in Sudan. That's why we are struggling with elevating our export appetite vis-a-vis our import appetite. We are struggling because quality. For you let the guys from Asian countries bring you buy a shoe and the sole in one step, and it's okay as long as the revenue has got its money and the bureau guys are understaffed. They don't have money
They
finances.
can't be everywhere. You need to give them this information.
Who?
You the wananchi.
Who's everywhere? Me, no.
If you
No, but let's
first
be
search-
serious.
No, that is their dockets, and
because
you
these
cannot
things are
ask,
imports. If you
yeah,
cannot,
Ugandans do
if you
this.
can't assurance of quality on imports,
Yes.
which you check. The other countries are doing it. So this argument of you saying, for us we checked, and then those are all just picky ponke games. I think this should be an alarm. This should be a wake-up call for all of us. The consumers, actually, for you're scared, for the people, guys that are holding it, but now we have Ugandans. What are we eating? Our children, because the kids eat this portion. There's a red flag. How about we revisit it and deal with this one? Gomana liakawunga, January to January. See, that's why you see people, you see a 13-year-old is diabetic. A 12-year is cancerous. Those things never used to happen.
Ulcers.
Ulcers in P2. P2. A child has ulcers. In P1, talaba. It's what they eat. The beans, kawunkumi. Remember, we also used to struggle. You pick one bean, then
sometimes it smells like.
You get these are things that we yes, yes. I think I know this is also that theory is to put fuel. What I hear for women not to be. I hear for kids not to have sexual. All these other things.
Stories around it.
Let's be serious. You see, we are not serious. Now I want to trade this unseriousness. But even this should raise a flag for us here. When you go to the supermarkets, how many times do they check? Let me give you a very sad scenario, and anyone viewing this TV can attest. How many of you, and I want you to, when you're buying fuel today, you take a 5-liter jerry can and tell the person, pay the money, tell them I want 5 liters. You get, they say a liter is 4,500. Let's imagine. Give them 4,500, again, Yamaftaga, 4,500. Just take a bottle which is 1 liter. We are struggling. For you pay money for fuel thinking you bought 20 liters, they're giving you 13. It is already programmed in, like, the standards here are fake. Guys, let's accept. Let's be honest. Everything, like, we are used to shortcut things. But I don't know if you feel the pain, because we're all victims. You buy fuel and it can't take you home.
No, even about the food that you're talking about, we've seen Office of the Prime Minister recalling beans.
Not once, not twice. Yeah, for aid.
For aid when disaster strikes. And
that's
the man takes blankets that can't cover
projects.
even an infant.
That's because they have landed on big projects. But how about for issues like schools that we're talking about, that will not have to check?
In Uganda is where you buy a mattress and you can go through. Like, you can be sleeping and you pass through. And those are on the market. How many people have chairs in their houses that you can sit in a chair for 1 full year? You find someone, like, and those things are sold on markets here. So, issue of standardization should be checked. People are stealing you go on this mobile money, airtime. Those are standard issues. You load the money, you make one call, not even 2 words. There's no recording, the money has. Who's checking these things? We are mediocres. And you can't export that. What you're seeing in South Sudan is a bigger problem. And that should raise a red flag for our government here. And the standard institutions. This whole music you're playing all the time of staffing, money, human resource, if you can't deal with, General, and I know that I agree with him entirely what he said here, Brigadier, the spokesperson of the army. But particularly if I'm to borrow what he said, he talked about people's commitment to execution. Okay, with the little you have, what have you done? Because that can say, but these people really, but where? The only time you see them, like, those are the smallest. So how did the maize get there?
How do we move forward? We're also looking at that, and to the traders, but also to authorities. And Felix, you can talk to that as we move to conclude. I'll bring in Robert as well. We see how can we move forward from this problem.
Let me tell you, Mollen. One, we must clearly appreciate that we have skipped lots of processes in terms of storage, And that's the very problem. For example, how many times do these standard institutions visit the storage places? Sensitization. It is our people have entered into businesses to get money. They don't have the knowledge. Do they have the right knowledge? Who should give them the right knowledge? Away from just being enforcement, do we take the steps? For example, we should probably have an export bureau, an export bureau that deals with people who want to export, and give them the info.
Board we have.
Oh, yeah, we have an export board. But what is its role? It should be able to guide these people. If you're exporting this is how you do in terms of packaging, in terms of branding, understand that. Advisory. The people in these businesses not, you see them, you know, they're not very educated, they're lay people, but they're just trying to make money. They don't have this information. Okay, but if the board is there, the export, it should give them that. But secondly, government has a very big hand in helping to grow export quality. By the way, that's its major duty. Because it's not doing it, the private sector is doing it, it should support it. Government should grow its export appetite by assisting these people. And that speaks directly into GDP. It does. If we increase our export, definitely it says a lot about the revenue and all these things. So we should look into it as a source of income, not to kill it, but to aid it. East Africa also should have standards. We need to have an East African standardized appreciation of trade. Not the one of pretense we are seeing. For example, okay, speaking to the fact that maize is not good or flour is not good, why are you holding people? Are they under arrest? Those are some of the things that we are missing, I think, to see goodwill in terms of the community appreciation.
Absolutely, and obviously we know that most of the things need to be streamlined, but we also want to look at the side of the traders, because obviously, and Felix did put it right, they know the market is there, so for them as traders, it's only natural, it's only natural to go for the trade. But Robert, we look at all these associations, the trade associations, and you've just talked of the board that is there. How can we move forward helping the traders to meet these standards?
Well, first, when we go to agricultural produce, it begins with the farmer. How do we help the farmer to be better positioned to know that what I'm growing, it is not all about food security, but it's about food safety. How safe is what you eat? How safe is what I'm growing? Right from the pesticides they use, the chemicals they use, because it is a whole food value chain. What pesticides are they using today? What fertilizers? Are they organic? Are they... So we need to first give the farmer the right information to let him know that when we go to international markets, organic goods are what are going to make money for you. They'll even want to know how you planted, the seeds you planted, the methods you planted. I've seen big export companies come to Uganda and they don't even buy produce from Ugandans. They start their own gardens and plant, grow in Uganda, sell out of Uganda. So we need to first empower the farmer. Then second, we need to empower the traders themselves, because many of these may not even have a garden of maize, but they know how they can get this maize. So how do we empower them to know the right procedures to be followed? But also for our brothers and sisters in Sudan in particular, I also must say that we must embrace to the latter, not to be complacent or step down on our standards, to the latter, the spirit of East African community. When our maize was held in Kenya, they said here that, yes, we've confiscated this, all this, we are going to destroy this, but let the trust. I think we've had a chain of events with our brothers for over a month. If you know business, someone could have gotten a loan to bring this maize, The truck is not theirs. Every day the owner of the truck is calculating them. At the end of the day, we may have about 74 people out of business, or companies out of business, because a month is a long period. So how do we handle these things in the spirit of East African community? That there could be a mistake, if at all it's there, then because Ugandan traders have done a number of protests. There are so many things that we said in this community we should not have, and countries like Kenya, DRC, Rwanda and others are not having them. But you are still having them. This new member is still holding on to them.
But do you
which
do
also
anything,
I find...
do you think, would you be aware of anything we buy from South Sudan? Probably this, we are just not aware. Maybe the best way was also probably to boycott that, but...
It is not so much.
Unfortunately, I've just not had the Honorable Rebecca Kadaga, who is the minister, Deputy Prime Minister in charge of East African Affairs, make comment about it. Probably she's still studying it. I don't know if she made comment. I'm not privy to that information. But I think what Robert is saying, it is uncalled for to wait. It's a double loss. It's a double loss for our traders in South Sudan. And it kills the spirit of the federation and the community. Because for us now we're starting to, it kills the purpose why we went into this whole thing of having a community and what. And that's why earlier on I was a bit bitter with the institutions of government here. There's a full Ministry of East African Affairs. Okay, there's another one of trade. There's finance, there's agriculture.
And also scanty.
Foreign affairs.
The ambassador says these trucks were released on the 26th.
No, because
they should be there. Now if we don't have them...
Offensive. It is not helping.
If they are not yet in Uganda,
we are okay.
that is not our fault for us. We released them. Where are they?
It's not helping the traders that are losing their monies in the meantime.
Yes.
So we really need to have that intervention, and I think this is where we should be moving forward.
Has Parliament addressed this? Have you heard anything? I wonder why they haven't picked interest in this.
And because the traders issued a 4-day ultimatum that if you don't, we are going to pack. But sometimes we get to pack because currently no truck that is taking goods to South Sudan
they're also on a demonstration.
But they gave a 4-day ultimatum to the government of South Sudan. Release or we are going to stop this. And
actually, I think they've already started
now
demonstration.
Yes. Now they have started.
They're no longer taking any goods.
Go to Narukorongo, they are packed. Jinja, Mbale, all these trucks are packed. They are standing in solidarity with their brothers and sisters who took maize with aflatoxins. and the
That's good
solidarity.
Standing in solidarity. Because today it's you, tomorrow it is somebody else. We are all in the same business.
Absolutely.
So if you neglect my call when I'm oppressed, then who stand by you when it is your turn?
You know, that's a good one. That's a good one. Let's just hope for the best, I guess.
Yeah. And we hope the debate continues actually so that we also have, like you said, Parliament involved. Because at this level, we are leaving these traders out to dry. And now I think the solidarity is the one that will pay off. Because it is until they created a strike that we are not paying attention.
That will appear today for discussion. And as I told you earlier, I love the fact that the two big shots there in Parliament watch Good Morning Uganda. It is precedented. So I hope they take that. Best praise is discussed today in Parliament. They need help. Regardless of the mistakes, they need help.
Yeah.
The Ugandans.
We do hope so, but also another call of action is to these ministries and especially the Ghana Bureau, the standards bodies. The standards bodies.
They're not doing us justice, honestly and truly.
Exactly. We need to streamline so that we are not falling into similar issues. And like we mentioned earlier, we have found that this is not the first time. I think there's some time back also, we still had the same issue with South Sudan. We have had issues like this with Kenya. So we need to move in a way that, and you don't see us stopping their imports because of a similar issue.
Honestly,
so meaning we are the ones lacking behind in terms of...
If you would kindly just give me a second. You know, I had to bring this. There's a place I visited and I was putting just a pinch of sugar in tea. And it was like, scarlet no was a noga. Honestly and truly. You have to put like 7 spoons of to have. I don't know if you've noticed any of you.
Well, those days you don't. Well,
honestly, I don't know.
Yeah.
Please think about and just try it. Sugar today, like I don't know, maybe can't you I don't know.
Obviously, we need to have some of these issues.
Like there's nothing still real on the market. Honestly, I don't know, but there's nothing real on the market today. The Kavera. Even the Kavera, which should be like everything is.
Also, I want to look at what is happening in our dailies today, and obviously some of the top headlines in the New Vision today. The big headline right there being Cabinet okays new policy on free education. That's quite a good one. All government-aided schools to implement UPE, USE. That is a full story right there that you can get in the New Vision today. Government to increase High Court judges from 83 to 151. Well, that's a huge one right there. Russia, Ukraine, Africa peace plan best solution. More stories in there. How your district performed in 2022. That is right there for you. And Professor Wang breaks silence on the delayed projects. 19 state lodges have no land titles. They also give you a big headline right there as Museveni wows opposition as 900 cross to NRM, Yam. That is a big story right there that you can also get in the New Vision. But crossing borders, we're looking at the Daily Nation right there. Raila succession. Well, plans afoot for a national mass movement of change that brings everyone on board. That is right there. Now, Kenya's first quarter growth, second highest in 5 years, says new KNBS report. New tax puts Ruto's cheap gas cylinders pledge in doubt. Well, that is also more to follow up right there as you get yourself a copy of the Daily Nation. But crossing over onto the Citizen, also seeing a big headline right there. Why DSE trading fell sharply in the first half of 2023. They give you more on that. Global economic uncertainties, including trade tensions and rising geopolitical risks, contributing to more cautious investor sentiments right there. And more of the stories. Registered investment projects hit 10-year high. They give you more on the monies right there. Deadline on Africa's contested borders nears. Much more of that you can catch with the dailies right there. Now we'll leave it at that. We do have more, especially when it comes to our discussions. You can get to us. The hashtag on social media is hashtag UBCGMU, and obviously you can also reach us on our WhatsApp number to have more of these conversations coming. We'll be going in for a short break. When we get back, we look at the traffic, and then later on that we'll also be looking at the weather updates as we move into Good Morning Uganda agenda. Good morning.
Actually, Zono Industrial is one of the presidential initiatives which is brought here in Achule land to skill our youth. The skilling is free of charge. What you really need, you have to be within the age of 18 to 35. They don't need any requirements apart from being willing. You have to be willing, and a youth who is willing to get the skills. The courses we have started with only 4. That is tailoring, hairdressing, carpentry, and welding. First intake, we registered 212. We admitted 212 students from 10 administrative units of Acholi. These students, they recruited them from different districts within the Acholi sub-region. If we continue with this cooperation, many beneficiaries will pass through us, and they will go with enough skills, unknown skills, which will change them and later bring them into money economy. We shall really fight poverty in that way.
These days, our homes are no longer just the places we live. It's where we attend meetings, go to class, keep each other safe, and entertain ourselves. To do this smoothly, you need a reliable internet connection. Buy the MTN WakaNet router, which connects up to 32 devices, and get a free 40 GB data bundle at only 149,000 shillings. Or buy the MTN WakaNet MiFi at only 75,000 shillings and enjoy a free 15 GB bundle to stream, study, work, and play on the go. Visit any MTN service center to buy the MTN WakaNet router or MiFi and enjoy the internet that does amazing things.
Uganda is rich in natural resources and hard-working people. But to turn these resources into real progress and development, we need to invest in our infrastructure, education, and healthcare. That's where taxes come in. When we pay our taxes, we are investing in our country's future. We are supporting the schools that educate our children, the hospitals that care for our families, and the roads and bridges that connect our communities. And when businesses pay their taxes, they are contributing to the growth and development of Uganda's economy. They are helping to build a stronger, more prosperous nation for us all. So when you pay your taxes, you are investing in the future of Uganda and supporting the progress and development of our nation. Uganda is because of you.
Uganda Revenue Authority, developing Uganda together. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning again. Right now we want to look at the traffic situation on the roads. We will be looking at parts of Nakawa if you're navigating towards town. Some of those roads around that area, we do have clear traffic as you lead onto the Kampala-Jinja highway. That is one that has quite some clear traffic from the Nakawa side. But also as you move further into town, you're looking at the roads that join in there. That is from Tinda Road on Nakawa-Jinja Road, joining into that intersection. That is where you have a bit of traffic coming in from the Tinda Road side. But then again, after that, it does get clear as you head towards town. Now you're also looking at the upper side, the Naguru area. If you're coming in from Naguru via Katalima Road, you do have clear traffic this morning, also leading onto the main highway, that is the Kampala-Jinja highway, where you do have a few distances actually there as you join into the main road, with orange lines indicating a bit of traffic but not so intense. And that also leads on as you look at heading way more in front as you're looking at that area, the Nakawa market area there. That's where you have a bit of traffic, so that is one that you should be mindful about. That connects to all the way to New Port Bell Road. That also has a clear traffic as you join onto the Kampala-Jinja highway. You do have a little bit of intense traffic right there as you head towards Dugogo. So that is one that you should look out for, but mostly on the side that is leaving Kampala, that is where you have a bit of traffic. Otherwise, if you're heading into central town, that is very easy to navigate this morning as there isn't much traffic. Now, Lugogo bypass as well, as you continue joining into the main Kampala-Jinja highway, you do have clear traffic joining onto the main road, and that continues all the way Also, you have some of the roads joining in 3rd Street right there. You also have clear traffic, and that goes all the way. You look at Archer Road as well, joining onto the main highway, also having clear traffic for this morning, indicated by the green lines over there, and that should take you all the way up to the main roundabout. Coming in from Port Bell Road, you do have clear traffic, but as you get onto the roundabout, that's where you have a bit of traffic. Wampeo Avenue as well, as you join onto the Ginger Road roundabout, you do have a bit of traffic there, but then it does get clear as you move past the roundabout. For Ginger Road, you do have clear traffic all the way between the roundabout and the traffic lights right there. Now, talking about the traffic lights, you do have a bit of traffic coming in from the downer side of Access Road, and that should actually be quite intense right there, so you need to be mindful about that. Also, coming in from the upper side of Yusuf Rule, you do have a bit of traffic as you join onto the traffic lights, but then again, it looks like that does clear off as you join into the city center. Now, Ginger Road as well continues to be quite okay, indicated by the green lines right there, and that goes all the way as you join into Kampala Road right there in the city center. You do have most of the roads that are actually clear for this morning in terms of traffic, and that should be easy to navigate this morning. Away from that, we'll also be looking at our satellite imagery, looking at what is going on in terms of weather over the country. This morning, we're looking at more sunny weather, starting off especially for the southwestern part of the country. Mostly sunny over there with clear skies. We're also having a similar situation over the Karamoja region, much of central as well, where we are starting off with mostly, those gray skies indicating clear weather and most of the sun. Also for the central part of Lake Victoria, Kampala as well, starting off quite sunny for most areas, and that takes in areas of Wakiso as well, the western side of Lake Victoria, Masaka. That is all starting off quite rainy for most of the areas over there. We're also looking at more clouds that are starting to develop across the eastern part of Lake Victoria. That is where we have Tororo towards Jinja. You do have most of that also starting off quite with a mix of clouds and sunshine over much of that area. And we're looking at the forecast coming in for today, indicating that we could be looking at more rains developing, especially for the northern part of the country, mostly the Karamoja region, but that will be later on in the afternoon. For this morning, much of the country will actually be dealing with the sunny conditions. Now, away from that, we also want to talk more about what is happening globally, especially in terms of temperatures. We do know that there is a new record, and obviously that adds to the fact that we have so far had most of the countries reporting the hottest July in a long time. And this adds to also the numbers that we have been seeing recently from the countries that are reporting in their record highs, right from London, that did say this June was the hottest on record. We also did see Denmark come in to actually give more of their numbers, saying that it's also breaking records. Now, as far as analysis is concerned, it is there has been a lot of news about the hottest day ever recorded worldwide, and obviously the official report is coming out to say this now surpasses the record that was given, that is in 2016. Even then we did have the hottest June actually on record. So that adds to the story, and of course making a link of the world warming faster, and this is something that climate scientists have been worried about. When you see constantly above 2000, we're having all these years that are breaking records, and that means it is evident that temperatures are rising. It is evident that we are getting onto a warming planet, and the consequences to that, why we should actually be caring that temperatures are going up, is that when that happens, then we start to see more extreme weather conditions taking place, like extreme floods, tropical cyclones, even the drought crisis that is associated to that. So that is something that now climate scientists have to again emphasize, especially looking at 2023, just a decade away having to break a similar record over there. But we also know that scientists have been looking at a combination of natural weather events like the El Nino event that is also looked at for this year. Earlier, the World Meteorological Organization did give a percentage of 60% now for the likelihood of El Nino to take place this year into next year. So that means that with that kind of event, you're associating it with, of course, record heat as well. But you also look at the emissions of greenhouse gases that we have been putting into the atmosphere, that is through industrial processes. So it means that most of these gases, and specifically carbon dioxide, as it gets into the atmosphere, it is trapping the heat in there. So that means that in turn that raises temperatures. So those are the two scenarios that so far are being looked at: the fact that we have more gases in the atmosphere, but also the likelihood for El Nino event that was projected even at the beginning of the year to take place this year. So that adds to the June, but so far we know that temperatures have reached 17.01 degrees Celsius on record. That was for analyzed for 3rd July, and of course surpassing the 16.9 degrees Celsius that was put across in August 2016. Obviously, more links are coming in and more countries are already confirming the June record, and that puts into perspective the fact that almost everyone has had an effect of this. And also you look at an effect of that, because obviously with issues like, with conditions like El Nino, it's not like the whole world is going to be warming up. You have another side that is having more warmer weather, and then another side that will be having extremes in terms of wet weather conditions. So that is the difference right there. It might not be everywhere, but again, the atmospheric temperatures globally will indicate a change in there. We'll leave it at that. That is it for some of the stories that we have, especially in the climate arena. We'll be looking at Good Morning Uganda agenda that will come in right after this. My name is Mollen Kenyena, wishing you a wonderful Wednesday.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Road traffic crashes is one of the leading causes of death among young people aged 5 and 29 years. In 2022, Uganda registered 21,473 crashes, out of which 4,534 people died and 15,227 seriously injured. 22 people die every 100 crashes, and on average, we lose 12 people daily. Legacy Road Safety Initiative, in partnership with KCCA, Ministry of Works and Transport, Ministry of Health, Uganda Police Force, Red Cross, Rosaku, Boda Boda Industry Uganda, have organized the second Road Safety Marathon for the crash victims to help create awareness, build cohesion among stakeholders, train first responders at black spots, and support a health facility. The marathon will take place on the 23rd of July 2023, starting at 7 a.m. from Nakasero Primary School grounds. Book your kits at 25,000 from Legacy Road Safety Initiative offices located at Old Kampala Chicken House, 2nd floor, room 18, or 8th Street, Safeway, Rightway offices, Total Energies, Ovino Mall, Boda Boda Industry Uganda, or visit www.lrs-initiative.org to register. Call 0752 605 479 or 0776 598 817 or 0414 698 675. Proudly powered by Daxi Driving School and Wava Water. Run to save a limb.
In fulfillment of the constitutional obligation, which mandates the state to make reasonable provision for the welfare and maintenance of the aged, the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development is implementing the Social Assistance Programme for Empowerment, SAGE, designed to provide income security and reduce poverty among older persons. Over 300,000 older persons in 146 districts in Uganda have benefited from the grants. The income security has made life better for eligible older persons aged 80 years and above, registered with the National Identification Registration Authority, NIRA.
Amabara gange Irene Masika bagenda ella bagenda nile mwira wawe akasente kenye kanyiyambiremo kakubaira nikanyiyambamo baitu ako kubanza mbona nagule mbuzi bagitwara nagule nkoko nazo baziba hati akubambaire reno ninsuburamu akasura tinjengina mani gokulema ningonza nyikalo mukatale mbono tuhimba ngotu tunsanga hangeto enda hangeto niha kasukali kokunyu niko nduko ndukanyiyamba kati amani gokulema tinjengina ngamusima senga utabisubulero ni musima nyo ni musima abereho abieho ni musima mono.
This is a message from Expanding Social Protection, ESP, implementing the program under the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development. ESP, better life chances for all.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
Amaina gange ndi namaganda Mariamu Monda myoga jaida emyoga ejitandika okuida nafunamu esente bampa yakakaira ke sente bwe bampa akakaira ke sente nayiye ekyokukola nasookera ku mutiere omutiere gwapanga beeyi naguvwako nanoni omwana twagedaga n'amagezi nagema esente edo namuga yaje yagula supeya owebyuma muno pichipichi ne obugaali buti saaga eno ndi kuyiya okuleeta ebyuma ebimala ku bwena abakabiri bampaireyo ku esente nakuba okunoonya y'abaana babeegeresenga gano okukanika ki pichipichi era bali kujja mpolampola nga bakanika era esente bwe tunaaba tudifuna nenda kwongera mu maani mu sente bwena abandifunye twongeremu ntewo bizinensi emala nenda okwebaza gavumenti egiira okutulowoozaako niife abagansi mu kyalo okufuna esente kuba twalinga n'esente nga tulumukira mu banka bugiri butige baida ku numba ngeno najjayo ku baida ku numba baida kutaa ku bigandiiko aye dino tutwalayo mpolampola nenda okwebaza gavumenti olw'okulowooza ku nsonga eyo mukama abawa omukisa.
So when you pay your taxes, you are investing in the future of Uganda. Uganda Revenue Authority. Developing Uganda.
Chebagalo gamba nti sente URA eze tukunganyamu zezimala okukola ebintu bino byonna enguudo amasomero n'ebintu ebirala. Mzee abasajja basoza sente nyingi nnyo olaba nti boda banzako miliyoni aga
miliyoni ana
zo wa boda
oza atunda okutunza emmere wa restaurant
nyabo sigo wa restaurant muchere nyama bisi bwa miliyoni nkaga eki kati ataniza alina kawushibe n'akabala mzee kati yake gofude mufi chichi
lekera okulimba URA era omusolo gwe bayita presumptive tax oba guyita omusolo ogwafa oba business obutono obuyingiza okuva ku miliyoni 10 mpaka ku 15 obutasukkawo omwaka
kati olonze banategera batinyingiza yange
ate oba olina okukuuma ebitabo byonna byonna ebikwata ku bizinensi yo ate ekyangu kwe kugenda gwe kennyini n'oba ensooka n'obatwalira ebitabo bino ku ofiisi zaabwe eza URA ezikuli okumpi awo ne babeera nga bagerekera omusolo omutuufu
ekitegeeza bali olina kwetega beetege
kyekyo bwe beetege bweteze osirike era bwe ate bakulimba nnyo kubanga ate mu ababoda mulina sasula emitwalo ejja omwaka
URA ekujjukiza okusasula omusolo gwo ogwa presumptive tax guno gwe musolo ogusasulwa abo abaddukanya bizinesi entono era gusinziira ku nnyingiza ya bizinesi yo nga gusasulwa omulundi gumu buli mwaka gw'ebyensimbi. Genda mu ssimu yo onyige kamunyenye 285 kadaala oba sasula ng'okozesa mobile money oba mu bank oba kozesa ba mobile agents. Uganda Revenue Authority tukulaakulanyize wamu Uganda.
In fulfillment of the constitutional obligation, which mandates the state to make reasonable provision for the welfare and maintenance of the aged, the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development is implementing the Social Assistance Programme for Empowerment, SAGE, designed to provide income security and reduce poverty among older persons. Over 300,000 older persons in 146 districts in Uganda have benefited from the grants. The income security has made life better for eligible older persons aged 80 years and above, registered with the National Identification Registration Authority, NIRA.
Nze Maria Nasanga n'emyaka igenda kukoona 10 guno gwentambuza. Tuli mu Katosi Kanso, ekyalo tuli Lugazi. Nti mukoddomi wange ye yaŋŋamba essente ez'abakadde zigenda kufunibwa mu kitundu gundi obulimi, era nanzirukira niŋŋenda. Nziguzeemu embizi nineggala n'ennyumba yange yali njereere. Bwe mba nga zibaddeko bbeeyi okutunda ssente ze njagala mpeerereko abaana battu nange ndyeko. Abantu abajja okuyingirira abakadde tuliko abavubuka abayagala ku ssente, nanze bwe nnina embizi nga balowooza nti natunze. Ajja akuyingirira akuggyeko ssente, bwe lwajja ninfunawo akalembereza ninsigala kuwulirizanga bweru kiro, kubanga era nemba n'embwa yange eri webogola ninfuluma ndaba ekiri kuki ku bisolo byange. Kati obuzibu bwe nnina obusinga bwakuweerera abaana bato, tulye n'okulya tube bulungi. Bannyambyeko ekitundu okusobozesa ekyo, mbadde njebaza etwongeremu amaanyi.
This is a message from Expanding Social Protection, ESP, implementing the program under the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development. ESP, better life chances for all.
Live from Now Avenue in UBC Studios, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning, and thank you for keeping it with us on Good Morning Uganda. Welcome to Good Morning Uganda Agenda. Now here we usually have a guest in studios and we discuss a number of issues of national concern. This Wednesday we were expecting to be having the spokesperson of the Ministry of Internal Affairs, Simon Peter Mondei, but of course due to work schedule he is still in Mbale City on work. Trying to ensure how best the officers there do comply and are well staffed regarding issuancy of various documents that must be issued by the Immigration's Office. But we have him live on phone from Mbale City, and this morning we want to look at an issue that has raised a lot of public concern. That is our passport, the Ugandan passport, where about a week ago we saw Denmark rejecting people with this new passport. Now, just to remind you, in 2018, that was around December, government of Uganda issued new passports. These were East African passports. We were told they had chips, and people who had the old passports had to get these new passports. Now, after issuing those in 2018 December, after some time, again, the immigration, that is government of Uganda, called upon Ugandans and said, now we have another new passport. This one has better features. It is more in terms of durability, the material it's made of, and so on. Now, people got this new passport, and this is where concern has been raised that Denmark or Danish embassy said, no, there is something not very clear, and we want to get it from the oath's mouth this very morning. who is the spokesperson of Ministry of Internal Affairs, but also the Immigration Department. You're most welcome to the show. Good morning, and how is Mbale?
Good morning, Robert. Mbale is very bright this morning. We have a bright sunny day, and that has started well, and great to be with you. I am watching you from Mbale. Mbale city is incidentally one of the most beautiful cities in Uganda. I don't know whether you have been here before. Yeah, I'm glad to have you on phone, and especially valued documents, the passports. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for finding time to be with us. I know you're having a very busy schedule down there. Now,
yeah, we normally come up country to sensitize our people on the services the ministry offers. Like we appear on these local radio stations to explain to the public the procedures for acquisition of passports, especially because, as you know, the fraudsters have not spared these up-country towns. They're everywhere. So we come here to sensitize our people and tell them how to acquire these various services that we offer as a Ministry of Internal Affairs.
Now, Simon, that said, let's understand. We had a new passport that commenced in 2018, December, but thereafter, we saw you again recall people to get a new passport that started March this year. Why these shifts? Just to begin with that.
Thank you, Robert. You recall we had a very, I think, a very busy time around about 2017, 2018, and we were popularizing the issuance of East African passports as instructed by the Council of Ministers, East African Ministers. It was a resolution passed in Arusha by Council of Ministers of East African region. So we had our minister, one of Kenya, one of Burundi, Tanzania, South Sudan, and Rwanda coming together and agreeing that since we are in the community, we don't have to have this aggregated, different types of passports. We should be producing passports that depict that unity. These passports are supposed to have the East African emblem on top. Then below them, each country has its own logo. Like you'd see coat of arms for Uganda. Then below there, we also have for Kenya, for those Kenyan passports and stuff like that. So we started on that, and in December, specifically December 8th, 2018, we rolled out. We actually produced the first passport. But normally, even before producing the passport, there are certain procedures that we do follow. And before you go ahead to produce a national passport. And one, I just briefly go through those procedures.
Okay.
One is we have got to write to the passport or travel regulators, and that is the ICAO, that is a global organization that regulates our travel documents. So you write to them, and then we did that as the government of Uganda, and then ICAO responded and gave us a go-ahead to do the same. So upon that, we went ahead, tested our machinery, and then printed sample passports as required by ICAO. We printed so many, and these were supposed to be distributed to all embassies worldwide. We are supposed to give this to all countries to ensure that these countries look at our documents, study it, verify data, and then authenticate or approve their use in their countries. So we did that. We sampled and gave Minister of Foreign Affairs, and Foreign Affairs did a very good job and distributed these sample passports to the world over. I am sure every country, because we got acknowledgement from all countries that they received these sample passports. Now we went ahead and of course produced those passports. Now, fast forward, without wasting a lot of time. These passports, we were originally supposed to have started with this polycarbonate passport, that 2018. But as you know, it was going to take longer because of issues of cost, issues of materials. Remember then, when we produced 2018, we had envisaged that by 2020, we would have started producing our desired passport, which is the polycarbonate. Actually, when we thought of changing passport from Uganda to East Africa, what we had and had planned for was a polycarbonate passport. From the start, these other paper passports came in to save the situation because we were running late, and the old passports, which did not have a chip, had also run out of stock. So we wouldn't keep Ugandans out there without traveling and then asking them to wait for the polycarbonate passport, which would take some bit of time. So we waited, but in the meantime, we had a contingency plan, and this plan involved us starting our vendor starting to give us paper-based as we wait for the polycarbonate. So the paper-based passports were those books given to us, of course, internationally recognized with a chip, with the biometrics and everything, but they were not the desired passport we had actually planned for in the very beginning. So we went ahead and issued those paper-based starting 2018, 2019. Now, 2020, when we were about to now start our polycarbonate passports, we had COVID. So because of COVID, the whole world shut down, where our vendors were going to get materials. Of course, most of the materials were supposed to be shipped from Europe. So we got that effect, that delay. So 2020, nothing. 2021, for those completed 2 years, we were not doing anything, as you know. So recently, after COVID, we now embarked on the journey to producing our desired passport, and that is the polycarbonate passport. And as again required, we did write to ICAO, informed them. ICAO also wrote back, accepting our proposal and the new passport. Of course, again, we did new samples of passports, polycarbonate, and distributed them worldwide, Denmark inclusive. But that time, that was 2022, before we started issuing them. So we have been popularizing, sensitizing the public, and talking about the polycarbonate passport in general. So then, after that, I remember we launched these passports on 30th of March 2023, this year, and we started using them. We have not had any problem since then. As I talk now, about 8,000 Ugandans have used this new pass to travel out of Entebbe alone. Entebbe alone is about 8,000 without mentioning these other borders. And when you look at the people, some of these actually have traveled to Denmark. And the number I have of those Ugandans who used this polycarbonate passport to travel to Denmark, total about 100. 100 of them traveled to Denmark. So recently, about a week ago...
That is where I'm interested now, so much to know. If you have 100 that have traveled to Denmark, why then did we see what happened just a week ago, where these Ugandans say that this passport was rejected.
Now that is the question I also asked. So we asked the Danish embassy why the change in decision not to allow our passport just 1 or 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
And we were informed that the Danish authorities, immigration authorities, or for that matter, passport authorities, after looking at our passport, that they have to have a serious, detailed regime to examine passport, and that theirs is a slow process. It takes a bit of time. It does not happen in a month or 2 or 3, that they take time to scrutinize these passports. We engaged them, of course, as a country, and of course as a responsible ministry. And when we talked to them, they did promise that within 2 weeks, this issue of passport rejection, the so-called passport rejection, will have been ironed out. But then I don't want to call it passport rejection, because it is a passport delay, a visa delay, or rather, the visa application delay, because people who applied there are being told to wait, not to reject, to wait until the verification of data of our new passport is done. I do not think for sure that Denmark is going to completely reject our passports, because it has no reason to do so. I would think so. And then 2, these passports, like I've told you, have already quite a good number of Ugandans and have traveled with them to Denmark, and then others have even traveled coming back. Just 2 days ago, I was interested. I went to the airport just to find out how many Ugandans are moving or flying from Denmark back home using the polycarbonate passports. And indeed, I saw about 33 just within this period of the so-called rejection. So my appeal to Ugandans, especially those who are applying for visas in the Danish embassy in Nairobi, is to ask them to be a little patient, because this verification of data is ongoing. We have expressed our dismay to the authorities, and everything is being done. There's no cause for alarm. These passports are done as they are supposed to be done. We followed all the protocols as required by ICAO, a standard body that regulates passports. We do not have even any single reason to think that any country will reject our passports. So as of now, as the process of verifications is still ongoing at the Danish embassy and Denmark in general, we do ask the visa applicants that want to go to that place, just because we are ending this week, but next week things will be back to normal. But as you know, we have to apologize to Ugandans who have gotten issues with this passport, especially those applying to go to Denmark. Although I hasten to add that we, as a government, we do not have anything in our authority to manage what Denmark is doing, because Denmark is an independent country, and it is not within our means to rush them to do verification. Of course, all countries take their time to verify documents. So I will only ask our people to just be a little patient as we continue pushing for a quicker resolve of the matter.
Now, Simon, that well explained given us the background to these passports. You mentioned that about 100 people used this new polycarbonated passport and traveled to Denmark, isn't it? That's what you said.
Sir.
And
Yes,
you've
sir.
talked about 33 returning with this passport. Now, matching with your explanation, were these security gaps that the Denmark embassy didn't see to give others? Even those returning, why do you balance your explanation with what happened previously? What could have gone wrong that at one time it was okay and thereafter it is not?
Now that question is not supposed to be answered by me. I believe it is. This question is supposed to be put to the embassy, because for us, we do not understand why 100 traveled on those passports, and now this one, actually it is only one whose passport application for visa was had issues. So I'm wondering why 100. Maybe they realized later that they needed to do these verifications. I would think so. I don't want to speak for Danish embassy, but the response we got from them is just that we give them time to do the verifications, and they promised us 2 weeks. So I don't have answers for them, because if we were to ask why would 100 access their country on those passports, and then this one is rejected, because the one with issues, the one which had issues is supposed to be a student going to study in Copenhagen. So that answer, I think, should come from the embassy, not the ministry, because for us, as I told you, as the ministry, we did all we are supposed to do to have our document packaged and produced legally.
Now, where does ICAO come in here, since it is the regulator and gave you standards? Has it gotten any input into this situation?
You know, ICAO regulates travel documents, but does not control the affairs of independent countries, these sovereign countries. ICAO would only stop at okaying the document, that it is okay, and theirs actually is, once you write to them, they get this data, they put in their international database, such that when you go to any country and scan the passport, you are able to, the system is able to see it and recognize it. But going to involve in matters of national document management, I think they don't do that. So ICAO, as of now, they did their work, just like the Ugandan government did work. What we are waiting for is only Denmark to finish the verification. ICAO we did our work as passport office. Government of Uganda did its work by distributing these passports all over, and then ICAO also did its very good job of capturing data in their system and okaying the production of the document. Now, what remains is the Danish authority to also do their work of verification, and then will let us know by just next week.
Now, Simon, there's also a concern amongst Ugandans that when we moved from the other ordinary passport and came to the East African passport, people paid money. Now we moved to from paper, we moved to polycarbonated, and still we are seeing it's not just a mere return of passport to get a new passport. This some see as cheating Ugandans, because if I didn't have an East African passport and then I paid money to get an East African passport, then if it is because of COVID and scarcity of materials, then I now have to go in for the polycarbonated at a cost.
Robert, this passport we are talking about, are not documents that you just wake up one morning, maybe go to the printer, then put in ink, and then you start producing. These are very expensive materials, very expensive documents. The materials used to manufacture passports are all imported. 1, 2, are very expensive. For us to put these materials together, then ensuring that the document we produce is of high integrity requires a lot of money. That's 2. 3, when we introduced this East African passport, digital passport actually, and we were changing, we told Ugandans that yes, these blue passports, the ones we started in 2018, the digital ones, can still be operational. They are still applicable until expiry or until the visa pages are full. We do not require Ugandans who have East African passport or indeed the digital passport to return it. We actually are not encouraging that unless you lost it, unless you damaged it. Government is not out to fleece the public. Government is not making money out of the documents. Actually, if you looked at the cost of a passport in the whole region, we are the cheapest in the region, just because government subsidized for its citizens. So government is not out to fleece the public. All we are doing, all we are charging is the cost of materials actually for that book. So we have not cheated Ugandans. We have only ensured that we put together a very credible document which can be internationally recognized. So what we are charging 250,000. If you looked at the cost of production and hiring the vendor and stuff, it would actually come to almost about 210 thereabout. So the government gets only about 40,000 shillings only. Compared to other countries, we are one of the cheapest countries in terms of accessing the national document passport. So I just want to ask Ugandans and assure them that those who have East African passports which were issued starting 2018, 2019, 2020, 21, 22, that they should relax. Those passports are good to go. They can still use them until expiry or visa pages run out. They will only change to polycarbonate when they return to renew those passports. But those who are getting new passports now starting 23 March this year are of course getting the polycarbonate passport. So no need to worry. We haven't forced any Ugandan to return the other passport. We haven't invalidated the other passports. They still are good to go.
That well explained. Now, Simon, we've on several occasions had issues of people playing around with our passport and being able to forge or duplicate these passports. But we've also had issues of non-Ugandans having our passports. Now, when we have a scenario where 5 Ugandans are at an airport checkpoint and at an airport immigration offices, I bring the paper, East African passport, someone comes with the polycarbonated passport. Won't these again bring up some of these issues? And how sure are we that now the polycarbonated passport is hard, or we won't have people moving around with passports that are not actually the ones then later you call for a modern, better, with more complicated features?
Thank you, Robert. The reason why I'm not in Kampala right now is that very reason you are raising, that we need to sensitize our people about the changes. You know, passports, like any other international documents, keep changing. as technology also changes. If you don't do that, then the fraudsters will have a field day. If you look at Chinese passports, they have changed it 6 times. Actually, the current one they hold is just undergoing a change. When you look at Sweden, they have changed passports. You look at America, I think they had a new one just 1 year or 2 years ago. So passports, I don't want to sit here and tell you that now that we have started issuing polycarbonate, so there will not be any change in passport. No. For as long as technology changes, for as long as technology improves, for as long as fraudsters become wiser and better of national documents being forged and easily on Nkrumah Road as it was before, because as technology features we need to embed in the passport, just like now in the new one where we have features like fingerprint, iris recognition service system. We have also and other biometric details. This ensures that the document is quite complicated for these people to for these people to do what? To forge around. So the sensitization we are carrying out now is to tell the public that passports have moved. We have migrated, changed, then moved to now this East African but paper-based. Then from there, now we have moved to polycarbonate passports. This is the sensitization we are actually giving to people. We are moving from region to region. We normally visit various TV stations and then radio stations all over. And the job of sensitization, as you know, is quite expensive and difficult. But we are trying our level best to see that all Ugandans come to know about these passports, and then, of course, be able to apply for them and not to be cheated. And we ask UBC as a partner, as a stakeholder in this, to be our mouth in propagating and broadcasting these sensitization moves. So as UBC, we have moved together. You have done a very great job, and the minister is really proud of you. Please continue doing the good job of sensitization about the new passport.
Well, Simon, I must let you go, but what is your final remark to Ugandans regarding the validity of our passport?
Thank you very much, Robert, for hosting me this morning, virtually though, and for always being there whenever we need you at the UBC. I wish to advise Ugandans, especially those who are planning to apply for passports, that they should do it early enough, instead of having to wait for a journey, then rush around, then sweat. They want to get the passport quickly. Then in that process, of course, the sharp, fraudulent Ugandans who normally sit on streets would take advantage of them and freeze them of their money. So please take time. If you know you have a journey, say in October, why don't you apply for your passport now and have it? There's no harm in having your passport, even if you don't have a journey and you secure some money. I advise Ugandans to do that. Then, if you want to apply for a passport, please don't use anybody. Just go on our portal, www.passports.go.ug. Once you go there, you'll find a very easy to fill form. Just put your personal data. Nobody knows about you. We have had these scenarios where agents fill in for applicants and put their own different things. And these applicants have had their passports deferred. because they cannot defend the information they put in the system. So it is quite important for an applicant to input that information personally so that they can be able to defend that information. So put it in. At the very end of that form, the system will give you what we refer to as payment reference number, PRN, which is generated by URA, and then be able to pay for the passport. Payment is 250,000 Uganda shillings. You can pay in any selected bank that collects URA taxes. You can pay using mobile money. That is Momo. You can pay using Airtel. You can pay using Visa card, MasterCard, whatever payment platform you prefer. Once you do that, then you go back to the system, go back to the portal, and then schedule appointment. Appointment will give you a time and then a date for you to appear at the passport office for interview, and you are good to go. After about 2 weeks, your passport will be out. So there's no need for you to hire in brokers in this case. Thank you very much, Robert.
Well, thank you so much, Simon Peter Amonde, who happens to be the spokesperson of Ministry of Internal Affairs, currently in Mbale City, of course, on sensitization regarding passports. Well, I'll leave it at this. Ruben is preparing to come and give you sports updates. See you in the next hour with Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Uganda is rich in natural resources and hard-working